oftentimes the town matters a lot more than the way you say their name or how you say it. Yeah.
This is true. Yeah, because they're representing that town. So,
absolutely.
It's not just them, it's everybody that is in part of that town.
Right. Yeah.
Now, what all is on your cards whenever you are announcing a fight, and what happens to those cards afterwards?
I usually just bring them home. I don't do anything with them. I might throw them away. I don't think I've thrown anything away, actually. They're somewhere. I used to give them to TJ DeSantis when he worked with me at Invicta. And I guess he appreciated it. I don't know. Or what he did with them. I don't know that either. But hey, you want my cards? Yeah, I'll take your cards. So he takes them. He might save them. But yeah, I don't hold on to much of anything. I was thinking this the other day. I'm like, of all the fights, I wonder how many fights I've done. 1,000 cards in my career. I don't know. Maybe 500. But it would have been neat to keep a log of everything I have done throughout the years, just to reminisce a little bit. But I don't spend too much time in the past. I'm looking forward, and I'm in the present with my family, and they could care less what I do. Dad's just an announcer, and they meet some. Your dad's so cool, and they're like, okay, cool, thanks. They don't care.
Dad does.
Well, he didn't get me this, so he's not that cool. He didn't take me here, so he's not that cool. Does your dad read bedtime stories? See, how cool is that? No, he doesn't. Yeah. Does he announce you when you get out of bed? When you get up in the morning? No, he doesn't do anything. Yeah.
No, he's dad, but why would he do that?
Yeah, he's just dad. He's just a regular guy. Yeah, he's nobody special. Yeah, that's funny.
You mean the guy with the bad coffee breath in the morning?
Yeah, that guy that takes me to school and leaves me with all those crazy people all day. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Now, you mentioned that you don't really look back, but when you reach certain goals and goalposts, you're always obviously progressing and you're moving forward. How do you kind of process that? Do you kind of take it in as it's happening, or is it one of those things that maybe you go through the night and then later at night, whenever, because everybody is back at a hotel room by themselves at the end of the night, do you kind of look back on it and be like, man, that was really cool? Or if somebody maybe brings it up later, you kind of think about it then?
I think when it's brought up, and it probably more recently was I was actually talking to my daughter about this today. I'm like, I don't know why he wants me to go on his podcast, because anybody who wants to know anything about me can go on a podcast and hear the same questions asked to me, and I'll have the same answer every time. But I'm actually enjoying this conversation with you, because it's not that. It's not yet a typical, how'd you get started?
That's my goal, is to not have the exact same questions everybody else does. And I thank you so much for saying that, because I hate listening to the exact same podcast over and over and over again about the same questions every time. If you want to know that stuff, go listen to somebody else's podcast. My brain works in a different way, and I have all these other random questions I want to ask. So all that other stuff kind of bores me.
Yeah, I think to answer your question though, I was very in tune with the TKZ Holloway fight in Singapore. That one struck me as one of my favorite moments in sports, that I've been a part of. Just the atmosphere, and when Zombie came out to his song and the whole crowd singing, I was just goosebumps, man. And I wish I could just box that up and relive it over and over. Of course, I could turn on the TV and pop it up on YouTube somewhere or something, but that was one that I couldn't wait to talk about. I couldn't wait to tell my wife about it. And I played a video over and over, and she's like, that Zombie song was in my head all day. I'm like, I know, right? Wasn't it so good? And she's like, no, because I can't get it out of my head now. And but it was so cool. I mean, the way everybody responded to that, and just to feel that energy was unlike any moment for me, and I know other people have felt greater moments than that, but for me, that strikes a chord of joy, in my career, that I just wish I could box it up and access it, emotionally every time because the feeling at the moment, it's like a high. You can never get that feeling back again. That same exact feeling of your initial reaction. But yeah, it was super special. Really happy to be a part of that.
That's so awesome. Yeah, watching his last fight was just one of those because, I think around the time he was really becoming who he was, I was like, I had gotten in a little early, right around the time GSP was on his, just epic stretch of just being, to me, everyone's going to have a GOAT conversation, but to me, he's the GOAT because I think of his stretch. Like him and Silva at that time was just like two of the greatest fighters on the planet, and they were just completely dominant. And then, on another level, you had the Korean Zombie coming up, and he's the first person to ever have the twist submission, which I had never seen. Now there's only been two other recorded submission victories that way, and it was never anybody saying his actual name. It was always the Korean Zombie, and that was it. And that's who he was. He had the coolest logo and merch that anybody had at the time, which the fact that there's still not better merch for MMA fighters still blows my mind. I just don't understand it. I don't know if I ever will. I've been a pro wrestling fan my entire life, and they always have the best merch, and I just don't know why there's not more merch better for MMA fighters and boxers. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Management, we got to take it up with the big guys.
Well, I just don't think, they don't want to pay fighters. They're not going to pay artists. I'm just going to put that out there.
Tongue in cheek.
Exactly. Now, you've been immortalized in MLB The Show 06 and 07. What was that experience like, and how did you get to be a part of that?
I asked. I offered service. They were up. They did the whole thing in San Diego, and they were shooting some B-roll crowd noise or audio B-roll, whatever you call that stuff. Just pulling that in, and I said, hey, if you need a voice, I'd be happy, to help you out. And they said, okay. Well, lo and behold, I got a call. And they said, can you come into the studio? And I said, sure. And you know what? Honestly, I think they paid me $500. And I just sat there for a few hours and, said a couple things. It wasn't a big deal. It was cool because I'm in the game. But I only did it for that 06 season, and then they ran it again in 07. They used me again. I was like, cool. And my question was, hey, do I get paid again?
Right.
I get another $500, I got gas money, bro. Gas money in a per diem. But, no, it was just an opportunity that you just never know. You can throw it out there. If you can use me, great, and that's with anything, don't be afraid to ask the question because the answer 100% of the time when you don't ask is going to be no.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're here right now.
I think Gretzky said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
be
bold.
That's why we're here.
Stay humble, but be bold.
People are so afraid of rejection that, you have to embrace rejection. It's like, okay, well, maybe not right now. It's a no now, but it doesn't mean that could be a yes later. So you just got to always.
My career started in rejection, honestly. My career started in rejection. I was playing soccer, and we shared a locker room with the basketball team, and they'd be coming in after our game. They're coming in to change to get ready for their game, and I would announce them as they came through the door, just messing around. Number 23, Cardell Jordan, and then the coach comes walking in, and the head coach for the Aztecs, and then I said his name, and he's, man, you should announce our games. I said, yeah, I'd love to, and he said, go see the athletic director. So I go see him, and his name was Mr. Edwards, and I said, Mr. Edwards, coach told me to come in and see you. He said he wants me to announce the games. Absolutely not. We will not have a student announce anything. No, not going to happen. And that was my first taste of no. In chasing something that I thought would be cool, doing that gig. But heck, if I had listened to him and became a forest ranger, I'd be living in the mountains by myself, watching over the forest.
You'd be announcing trees and other creatures that are out there.
And I'd probably be happy, I'd probably be happy, but it's okay. It's okay. What's supposed to happen will happen, God's will. And, it's been a fun ride. I love it. It's what I do. It's not who I am. And, my kids will tell you that, right away. My dad's not who you think he is when he's at home. He cooks dinner, he takes out trash, he mows the lawn, he does everything everybody else does. I just have an opportunity that's a bit different in my career than most people. And yeah, it's a bit of a glorified position, and that's why I call myself as a glorified name caller. Because really anybody can do it. It's been proven that anybody can do it. There's nothing special about me that's better than anybody else. It's just I got picked. I got the opportunity to do it, so I'm grateful for that. And I'll ride it as long as anybody wants to hire me.
There you go. Well, I mean, you do have something over other people, and it's the non-fear of public speaking. So there's the old Seinfeld bit of if you're at a funeral, most people would rather be in the box than giving the eulogy.
I'm probably in that position too, though.
Really?
If I'm being honest, I do not like to speak to a small crowd. I get emotional. When I talk about somebody else, I've done eulogies and I'm a wreck. I'm an absolute wreck. I've prayed for people on their deathbed and I'm an absolute wreck. I've been with their family during, somebody's passing and I fall apart. And I'm supposed to be strong and giving an encouraging message, and I'm just, falling apart on them. And I'm so apologetic, because I feel that pain. I've experienced, my dad's last breath. I experienced my grandpa's last breath. I was there for those moments, and I know what it's like. And not saying it's the same for everybody, but my emotions take over in those moments. And it's very difficult for me. And I warn them, our DJ at UFC, AL3, Albert, he called me. He says, my mom, she's passing, and she passed earlier this year. And he calls me and he says, Joe, would you just pray for me and pray for my mom? And I said, absolutely. So I did. And I said, Albert, I got to apologize to you because I'm going to get emotional. And he says, it's okay. And then she passed away and he comes home and he goes, hey, I got my whole family here in the hospital room and would you say a prayer for us? My mom's going to pass away tonight and I got the family here. And I said, Albert, bro, you know what's going to happen? He says, Joe, it's okay. He says, I love you. He's like, you're like a brother to me. And I know you're only sharing your pain with me. My pain, we're sharing that pain. And I said, okay, man. And sure enough, I held it together for a minute and then I'm all, just like, I'm so sorry. And, but it's a special moment. I think a lot of people see death as an end, but really it brings people together, and to share in that love and those moments of loss is really gain. You can really be fulfilled in those moments too. So I don't ever want to become callous to those situations either, and be very passive about it because it matters to somebody. It matters to somebody. And I want to share in that. I want to share in joy and I want to share in pain.
That's so awesome that you're open to sharing that as well, because I know a lot of people would probably, try to I mean, you mentioned it earlier that you're who you are on an everyday basis is just who you are in the public light as well. And I love that you just opened up and shared that with us all.
Well, two people know me better than anybody. That's my wife and my best friend. And he knew, when I did his dad's eulogy a couple years ago, I said, bro, this is going to be hard. He goes, I know you're going to fall apart and then you're going to pull it together. He says, just get it out of the way and then we're going to do this, and it's going to be fine. And it was, and I did. And, we got through it and got to enjoy each other's company because those moments are few and far between when you become an adult. And, and when you grow up with somebody and their parents are like your parents,
Mm-hmm.
obviously